Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the Managing Director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing Thai retirement visas again, a hot topic recently here in Thailand, especially with respect to changes in the interpretation and the enforcement of rules pertaining to retirement visa issuance and retirement visa extension in the kingdom. Throughout the last roughly 6 or 8 weeks, basically since the 1st of 2019, I've been interacting a lot with folks who are sort of in quandaries and having their minds boggled with respect to, sort of little factual issues associated with their retirement visa status. Some of these folks, they fall short of certain income requirements. Some of them are still trying to use previously issued income affidavits from, for example, the U.S. Embassy here in Bangkok or the U.S. Consulate up in Chiang Mai. And folks are having varying degrees of problems or successes with respect to retirement visa extension and maintenance of retirement visa status here in the kingdom. So I thought I'd make this video to just kind of go over some of the things that I've heard, and maybe it can provide insight for some folks moving forward. One thing that's notable and probably noteworthy only for a little bit longer, mostly due to the validity of the things, there are people that did manage to get income affidavits from either the UK, US, or Australian embassies before they ceased the practice at the end of 2018. And the question's arisen: will these still be accepted? Previously, back in January, I read in a couple of different sources that yes, so long as they were a validly issued income affidavit, they would continue to be accepted, but that the embassies had stopped issuing them, so it would be eventually a moot point, which I think by the time we get to about June of this year, 2019, yes, it will definitely be a moot point because nobody will have one that will even be anywhere near within validity for utilization for a retirement visa extension. That being said, it was my understanding that they were considered still good evidence with respect to the fulfilling of the retirement visa evidentiary criteria, especially with respect to financial obligations. I've heard anecdotally from a couple of different people in 2 different provinces that they were told no, they're no longer going to be accepted. I believe that this is the exercising of discretion of immigration officers on the ground, so there isn't really much that can be done about that. That being said, it would seem to run counter to official policy, but I can't really speak to whether, what administratively is going on with respect to those because, frankly, it's hard to sort of quantify, especially with them becoming moot on the horizon. So something to keep in mind if you're one of the few people watching this video who's still looking at utilizing an income affidavit. If you've got some time left on your visa, and it probably won't be much, might be a good idea to go ahead and just double check to make sure your local office is going to go ahead and accept that, or if they're going to cause some problems and they're going to want to see some other evidence in order to support the application for the extension, just to go ahead and be on the safe side, my personal opinion. Another thing that popped up in the Nation, nationmultimedia.com, came up February 19th, 2019, and there was, so technically speaking, the new rules with respect to immigration, with respect to retirement visas, didn't come into effect until March 1. But again, anecdotally, I'd heard throughout the country, different provinces, different immigration offices had started basically effectively applying the new regs. I heard it as early February that they were bringing some of this stuff in. So this article, I believe it was an editorial or a letter to the editor, I should say, but the title is "Rising Bot Exposes Vulnerability of Expat Retirees." Again, the Nation, nationmultimedia.com. Quoting directly, "I have been living in Thailand for 19 years now, but I'm now suddenly a criminal because the value of the bot has risen so much that the 800,000 bank deposit required for my retirement visa came up short by 8,000 baht." Now, something we have done a video on with respect to exchange rates and income and bank balances. Keep in mind, immigration takes a hard line on this one. They're looking at your bank balance or your income in baht terms. It doesn't matter what it is, what amount the amount of money is with respect to one's local currency in their home country, etc. The rules stipulate this in baht, so it's going to be adjudicated in terms of baht. Quoting further, due to this shortage, I was told that I had to leave the country and start the whole process of getting a retirement visa all over again. Even though I produced documents showing that my pension for the year was 15,000 baht higher than the amount required, and I had always respected the 800,000 baht rule. However, none of this was accepted by the woman behind the counter. And then to sort of paraphrase some of this stuff, he goes on to say he went down to immigration headquarters here in Bangkok in order to complain. Quoting directly now, however, several police inspectors were called to speak to me, and they advised me that I speak directly to the director of my immigration office. I don't know exactly where that is, but moving forward, quoting directly, the director received me with kindness. Maybe someone had called her from the headquarters. She understood my problem and asked my wife to show our marriage certificate. Let me get to that in a moment, as I think that that's an important component to the analysis of this overall article. Quoting further, immediately I was given a 60-day visa extension and was told to produce a new bank statement for the extension of my retirement visa. I did not need to fly overseas. Now, this is not an exhaustive quotation of this article. I urge those who are interested in this topic, go ahead and check that out. Again, the title is Rising Baht Exposes Vulnerability of Expat Retirees. A couple of things going on here. First of all, what this shows me is they are taking the application of these rules and the new interpretation thereof very seriously. I think it would be, I won't go so far to say it's foolish, but I think it would be rather cavalier to assume that they're not. Now, I suspect that different immigration offices are going to have different levels of scrutiny with respect to this overall issue, so that'll vary sort of, province by province, immigration office by immigration office. The other thing that was notable about this article, the gentleman in question had a Thai wife and was legally married to her. So it was, I think, a pretty easy fix, if you will. Fix is the wrong word. An easy call, if you will, by the immigration officer with jurisdiction over the matter to go ahead and issue that 60-day extension and allow for some leniency. That being said, to the person that's not married to a Thai, I think you could have a problem if placed in similar circumstances. As I mentioned, this gentleman was married to a Thai national. That means that individual would be eligible for a Thai O visa, should he so desire, and the Thai O visa only requires 400,000 baht in a Thai bank account, or I believe 40,000 baht in monthly income. Again, those are lower thresholds than the retirement visa. So I think it was that allowed the immigration officer to go ahead and use some leniency, because at the very least, that immigration officer can fall back on the analysis of, look, the guy's married anyway to a Thai. If he wanted to just switch over to an O visa, he could do it and he'd meet the requirements immediately. So what are we talking about here? What's the problem, essentially? The thing to take away from this video is, as I said, most of this is anecdotal evidence, but I think it is very, very safe to say that moving forward, immigration officers are probably going to be quite sticklers on the financial issue for a bunch of different reasons, most notably because they've been told and ordered to, maintain a very strict stance with respect to financial issues. Again, as you can see from that quoted article, this gentleman had to eventually go to a higher up in order to, gain some insight, if you will, and be given some leniency. Your average line officer, I don't believe is going to want to exercise discretion in favor of someone that does not meet the financial requirements. I just don't see them wanting to make that call on a case-by-case basis. One, they've got a heck of a backlog in most of the places that are Farang heavy. Sort of a quiet immigration office might be more willing to sort of dig deeper into the details of the case and the exigent circumstances surrounding someone's inability to meet financial requirements. Whereas, a heavy caseload office, they're just not going to want to take the time to do that. Again, the next thing that you've got an issue with respect to that is, strictly speaking, it doesn't meet the requirements. And more, I think the thing that we're seeing with respect to the paradigm shift when it comes to retirement visas is they view this as more a law enforcement function rather than an administrative processing function. So the thing to take away from this video, moving forward, I see glimmers of hope with respect to them trying to work through problems. But if you don't meet the requirements and you don't meet the requirements, it's going to be a good idea to plan accordingly rather than hoping for some sort of leniency, because especially after 2019, I don't see that happening.